The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
All systems go.
On this episode of Let's Find Out, our guests are respected veterans in paranormal and research and education, known for their deep dedication to understanding and exploring the supernatural. We'll be diving into their fascinating journeys and discovering how they've used their unique skills to help countless others. All this plus more. Please welcome our new friends to our show, Dr. Bill Slevin, Father Bob Bailey, and Joe Franke. My friends, welcome to Let's Find Out.
How you doing? Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
It's great to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you guys. I mean, this is quite interesting because I've been following you guys for a little while now, and I know each of you have your own stories, your own experiences in the supernatural and paranormal universe. Speaking of that, everybody has a different type of paranormal journey in their life. Some start young, some start later in life. Some people are, you could say, are born into it somehow with family history. So it can be unique for everybody. How did the three of you in the paranormal crossroads meet? How did this relationship start?
Well, who wants to start?
Well, I'll start if you don't mind. Thank you, Diego, for having us on. We really appreciate it. Very kind of you. I started back in 1986. I was 18 years old, and my wife and I, or my wife of 33 years now, we were just dating at the time, and we had attended one of Ed and Lorraine Warren's lectures, which they were holding not too far from where we live, and that's when I met the Warrens, and they took me under their wing and they asked me to be part of their paranormal family. So that's my history goes back to when I was a teenager, and fast forward to today, some almost 40 years later, I'm still in the work. But how we met was with Father Bob. I met many years ago. We were working on a case separately. It was the same case, but we were working on it separately for a family in Enfield, Connecticut. And we had met some years ago, and we hadn't seen each other in some years. We reconnected just last year.
Yeah.
We reconnected after a time, and we formed along with Bill. And some other folks, we formed the Warren Society for Paranormal Research and Education. And I met Bill some years ago through the Warren Legacy Foundation, which we were a part of, Bill and I, for some time. It was always my dream to start my own organization along with some friends to honor the life's work and legacy of Ed and Lorraine Warren. I mean, these were people that I knew intimately, not just as the famous Warrens. They were family to me. They were like grandparents to me. And, it's kind of come full circle for me because Ed and Lorraine were the age that I am now when I met them. And I learned a lot from them. I'm proud to say I met these gentlemen, and we've kind of banded together to form the Warren Society to keep that life's work alive. I'll turn it over to Bill. Bill can
Sure.
some of his journey, but I just wanted to give a quick overview.
Now, I wish I could say my journey started with Ed and Lorraine, but it did not. I mean, I knew of them back then, and I definitely followed them. I started when I was very young. Probably started researching and trying to figure things out maybe when I was like 10, 11 years old, because I had some experiences and I didn't know if it was real, if I was crazy. But back then, as everybody here knows, it was not easy to get into this field because it was not like today where there's teams everywhere and it's on the internet. We didn't have internet. We didn't have all this, and it wasn't talked about.
Social media.
Yeah. In 1989, I actually was able to get onto my first case. So I was 19, and it turned out to be a rare demonic case as my first ever case. And that's kind of what kind of drew me into this. Most people would run for their lives and never do this again. And for some reason, it took me down that path. That's why I say it's like a calling. And I've been doing this now over 36 years, and I'm just trying to continue now with the Warren Society, as before with the foundation, is to help carry on the legacy of Ed and Lorraine, because we want to help people out there.
Mm-hmm. Padre?
Yeah. From a very young age, I was always interested in miracles, apparitions, visions, and things like that. I grew up in a very devout Catholic family, but we had a priest in the family. And that priest used to come to my grandparents' house next door every Tuesday. And as I was growing up, after his um, dinner, he would go out, smoke a cigar, and it would be just he and I. And he taught me so much and solid stuff. I began to learn about the reality of evil, the devil, spiritual warfare at the time. And that just engendered a desire not only to be a priest, but also to be a warrior. And after that, it kind of went dormant because, as Bill said, it was hard to get in. But no one else among my friends was interested in the paranormal. It wasn't until much later when I was asked to help a local case with Keith and Sandra Johnson that when I went to do the house, bless the house as a priest, I knew that that was my calling. And then I met Ryan Buell.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Paranormal State. And because of that, I was getting a lot of inquiries. And I began a group called PWSM, the Presidium Warriors of St. Michael. And, we helped a lot of people locally. And then when I was on Paranormal State, I had the privilege of working with Lorraine Warren. I loved her. We had a great friendship, great relationship. And so when Joe was beginning this Warren Society, I too have an allegiance to the Warrens because of my love for Lorraine. So I'm very privileged to be a spiritual advisor to this group.
It was almost like it was meant to be
Yep.
for
Yeah.
all three of
Yeah.
you to get together and have the same kind of mission, not only to understand and be spiritual warriors, so to say, but to educate those about the supernatural and the paranormal. And I did have a follow-up question, but I'm going to jump back because something was mentioned during the conversation about the rise of paranormal groups out there, where as I was growing up, I was 70s and 80s kid. Things did happen, but I didn't know many people that would go out there and purposely go looking for these things. You either understood it through family stories, or you actually, because I come from more of a Pentecostal background. So if you want to talk about supernatural, it's right in front of the door. So as soon as you get in there, you learn spiritual warfare. You learn all these things. Now, is the rise, and I know it can be trendy to be part of paranormal teams, and we've all seen that. We're not going to name them. You can pretty much tell them, discern them as soon as you see them. Is there a rise of some sort of spiritual movement? We having more paranormal cases and experiences now? Is there something happening where, I'll use a generic term, and forgive me for using, are the gates of, I'm not going to say the gates of hell, but I'm saying something's opening a portal. Are we having more activity now than we have before?
I think you're absolutely right. And I have seen the progression, so much so that they began a school in Rome for exorcism and spiritual battle to train priests and religious in that. And there might even be a satellite in the United States. So they've had to put more exorcists in dioceses. And I think part of that is there's so much access to the occult and people dabbling with things they don't understand that they're opening portals. And I think we're living in a significant time in our salvation history, where you're right. It seems like the gates of hell are unleashed, and that's why it's important to be a spiritual warrior. And I use paranormal, but I'm really a spiritual warrior. That's what I want to do.
There- There's a lot of different things out there because you have more access. Like we're saying back then, people didn't talk about this stuff. So now there's so much access. You have people trying things. You have people going. You have investigators going out who watch, TV shows, and now they're out there doing stuff, and now they're creating problems for themselves. I did notice an uptick in cases and stuff when COVID started, because the way I felt that was that there were so many people passing on so suddenly. 1 minute they were sick, the next minute they're in the hospital, the next minute they were dead. And I don't think a lot of them even realize it. So I noticed a lot during that. But yeah, with the access now of everything out there and people running around all trying to, find ghosts and hunt ghosts and all this, I see a lot more going on.
Yeah, I mean, when I ask these kind of questions, I tell people I'm not a ghost hunter. I'm a ghost helper. We're here to help people if they have a paranormal affliction of some kind, or maybe God forbid, a demonic infestation or something like that. The ghost hunting groups out there now, it's very trendy. And people think it's cool, to go ghost hunting, and it's not, because you don't understand the doors that you could be opening. And especially the ones that get into private homes and residences, not the public ghost hunts. I'm talking about when people are looking to you as the expert, and they need help, or maybe they need help, maybe they don't, but they go out there and they could be causing more harm than good, and they could become victims themselves of this activity. They can get attachments, or they start playing with divination practices like Ouija boards and tarot cards and divining rods and things like that. But they think it's cool because they want to get something for their camera or for their recorder and put it up on their social media page. And sometimes we get contacted by some of these groups, and they're like, I'm in over my head.
Yeah.
We had this case we were working on, and now something followed me home, and now I have activity in my house, or I feel I have an attachment, to me, and they don't know any better because they didn't educate themselves, and they certainly don't know how to protect themselves, or they don't care to, and it's very dangerous. And our job, and we share this vocation, and I think I could speak for all of us here. This is a vocation. This isn't an occupation. We don't ask anything for this. We don't, charge for our services. We are out to educate people, now. And, Bill's our COO. Bill's kind of in charge of the day-to-day operations and the cases and things like that. And obviously I have Father Ken and Father Bob here, spiritual advisors to help us with that. And what I like to do now that I'm older now and hopefully a little wiser, is I like to lecture along with Bill and Father Bob, and teach not only the general public, because a lot of people come out and they just want to hear a good ghost story. I mean, if you hear something from us, it's going to be real. But we want to educate those up and coming investigators that may have that same calling. It's like, look, get educated, educate yourself on the proper ways to do investigations. And Bill's really good with that. It's like, and then educate yourself on how to protect yourself. Because if you can't protect yourself, you can't protect anybody else. And that's my feeling. And I was fortunate to learn from Ed and Lorraine, and I feel that they were kind of the pioneers. None of us would probably be sitting here today if they didn't exist, and you hear a lot of people say that, even though you have a lot of people that may disagree with their methods, or, I don't want to say Warren haters, but there's a lot of people out there that didn't like the Warrens. I'm like, well, that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion, but make sure it's an informed opinion. I mean, I knew these people intimately. I knew them, as people, not as just, Ed and Lorraine Warren, the ghost hunters. So, I know I get long-winded and I apologize, but I just want people to understand that you need to educate yourself. And that's why I wanted to make sure that education piece was in the title of our organization.
Well, go ahead,
Uh,
Father.
I think that, yeah, one of the goals when I was in the ministry of PWSM was to actually teach people what we found to be effective in our cases. So we would do workshops. And the big thing was protective. People go in, they don't protect themselves.
Right.
And they don't pray before, they don't pray after, and you
And the
don't know.
prayers don't mean anything if you don't believe.
Well, yeah,
You gotta have the
but,
faith.
but they have to have faith. If you're going in looking for the supernatural, you got to believe in God. I don't know how you can't. But and I think that's part of it, the do's and the don'ts and the pitfalls of investigations. And it was pretty it was pretty successful. I had a booklet and all that of what we did, and it helped some groups. But I find the area of not protecting themselves and not educating the clients about protecting themselves,
Mhm.
that it becomes dangerous.
And yeah, I was going to say too that the people that are learning this from watching TV, which okay, that's fine, but they go out there and they're kind of misinformed. They don't realize that if they happen to come across a rare demonic case, it's not what they're gonna, what they're seeing on TV. It's different. And every case that I was on that turned out to be an actual demonic case, the teams that I called me in to help, every one of those teams never did this again. After they witnessed what they witnessed, they never ever did this again. So, it's a different thing, and you can't just think that what you see on TV is what's going to happen. And you go in there like Father Bob was saying, everything unprotected, and the next thing you know, now you're calling us.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
100%. It's just my opinion where television is kind of its own portal, its own gate to you're letting a lot of negative spirits into your own home. You don't have to go looking for it. You're bringing it into your own home willy nilly. Each time, not across the board, but there's a case that can be made that basically. So the television might be the bait when you go and then you say, well, I'm going to start ghost hunting or whatever they want to call it, right? They go somewhere to a location, unprepared, untrained, unlearned. And, it's not their fault, curiosity, curiosity kills the cat. But are these investigators, are they falling for a trap? Meaning that, let's say a location does have some sort of spirit entity in there. And it could be a lot of these spirits, whether human spirits or demonic spirits, are known to be liars per se. And perhaps they're trying to entice you to investigate a location, and that's where they get you.
Well,
Exactly.
it's true, but it's not so much going to a location. Like a lot of these investigators will go to an old cemetery, they'll go to an old abandoned building, hospital, school. I don't feel in many cases anything there. It's what they bring in. It's what they conjure. You start giving negative entities recognition. I mean, it's like you're opening a doorway and you're allowing these things in. And when you add an instrument such as a Ouija board, and I bring that up because it's probably the most popular instrument out there. Yes, it's a board game by Parker Brothers. I get it, but you have free will. We talk about this all the time amongst ourselves. If you, of your own free will, are inviting these things in because you think it's cool, to contact the other side, I could most assuredly assure you it's not going to be grandma's ghost that's coming through.
Right. It's
going to be something more dark and sinister that you just cracked that doorway open, and it's more than happy to walk in because it wants your soul. That's the end game. They want you. I mean, the devil wants to convince you he doesn't exist.
That's his greatest tactic.
Yeah.
Greatest tactic. And one of my pet peeves is going to places that are haunted. And I don't have a problem with it, unless that's all people are doing, and they go from one high to another paranormal high. But when I go to a place and I discern that there's spiritual activity, my first reaction is I don't want those spirits to stay trapped. I will try in my priestly duty to release these souls so they go into God's presence. For whatever reason, they're trapped. Those places obviously don't like that because it's not Disneyland if all these. But as a priest and just as a human being, I don't want to see souls trapped. And I was in West Virginia Penitentiary, and I had a group with me, and we went into the chapel, and there was a soul that asked for help, and I had the people that were in my group help. They sang Amazing Grace. We said the Lord's Prayer, and the soul crossed, and it was amazing.
Did they get mad at you for that?
Oh, they didn't know.
Yeah, well, some public places, like Father mentions, a perfect example.
Sorry.
I've had people actually that run a public, it's a restaurant or something. And they go, we don't want you to get rid of it. So you don't understand. That's not what we do. If there is a soul trapped here or confused for whatever reason, it is our duty to help that soul pass over. And then people actually get mad at you because, well, you're going to kill my business. I'm like, this isn't a game. This was a soul that was once a human being. I mean, would you want a parent or a loved one of yours trapped, or would you like someone to help them? So, yeah, I'm sure Bill's got stories about that too, where people actually get mad at you for that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And going back to what he was saying about conjuring and stuff. One of the things I teach my own team members, and just the general public when I'm out there lecturing. I also have 33 years in the IT field, so I know technology. I have a lot of equipment. I know what works, what doesn't work. But if you take anything, even a little audio recorder, and you sit in your house and your house isn't haunted, and you keep asking, is anybody here? Is anybody here? And eventually somebody's going to be there. So you don't need a haunted location. You can bring it in. So, that's one of the first things I teach them is don't use that equipment in your house. I never do.
You should never investigate your own house. You're exactly right. No one should.
No.
I had a case once where a woman sent the recording in, and she's walking around her home with a recorder asking these silly questions. And I hear this little voice go, "Mommy, what are you doing?" She had her 5-year-old daughter next door, exposing her child to this. It's crazy.
And the thing is that when you're doing that, I have had people do that same thing. It becomes an obsession.
Mm-hmm.
They become obsessed with EVPs. I mean, it's one thing to get them. Yes, I get them and try to get them because I want to know what the hell's in the house that I'm dealing with. But that's the only reason.
Right.
But some of these people, were taking tapes and tapes. I remember when I was at Paranormal State, there was one woman and she had all of these tapes of activity. So finally, Ryan and I talked to her, and she ended up throwing them in the water, in the sea. Finally, because that's a form of spiritual obsession.
Yeah. It's like playing the lottery. You get a scratch off, you win $10, you go buy another one. You just keep doing it, and you get hooked on it. It's an addiction.
Also, they're going to the internet, and they're going on Facebook, and they're going into the Facebook groups, and they're asking people's advice. Oh, I heard this thing, or I had this noise, or what should I do? And people are telling them, go get equipment, talk to it, find out who it is. I mean, that's why I go in a lot of these groups and try to grab some of these people and give them help, because some of the things I saw one guy telling a guy who said he had demons in his house. He told him to go fill his cup from the sink with tap water and say a prayer over it to make it holy water and start blessing the house. And I'm like, oh my God, the things they tell people are just absolutely crazy, and they're causing more problems in the house.
Yeah. And then I hate to say it, but you have these half-baked clergy that are not real clergy. I mean, they got, they're these spurious groups that are just, they become ordained and they become their own bishop and all that. But there's no education. There's no seminary. I studied 9 years theology before I became a priest. And, and a little knowledge is dangerous. And these guys call themselves exorcists and all this, but they don't really have the background. If they ever really came to an authentic possessed person, they'd run away. They would run away.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%. I would run away too. I'm not prepared for that level of activity.
I'm not either.
No, nobody really is. Yeah, I mean, but speaking of that, because as I said earlier, you don't know what you're encountering or you're conjuring up. Now, some spirits may be human spirits, but then we have other ones who are non-human spirits. We can label them demons. We can label them something else. And the popular thing's been also to label something demon, and then people just falling all over it.
Mm.
I hope it's not, because if you're really obsessed with something like that, you're really opening yourself up for something really bad. But what are the percentages of actual demonic activities in locations? My understanding is it's fairly low. But
Very
you've
low.
seen it, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess because that's my expertise, that I have found I get called in for those things. And I'm going to tell you, the doors have been opened. There's more demonic activity now than there ever was.
Hmm.
Wow.
So,
The potential is very high.
I mean,
Right,
yeah.
right. I've
But
had
we go into some places and, you can explain what's going on humanly,
yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people, look for a natural explanation first, as opposed to the supernatural. But a lot of these groups out there, especially the ones that have social media platforms and YouTube and all TikTok and all that, they want to capture something. They might capture something that, if you dug a little deeper into it, could be explained naturally, but they don't want that. It's like with orbs. Oh, you got an orb, but and then you tell them, well, that's just dust, or it's water vapor, or it might be a spider web that you caught, and people get mad at you. They're like, no,
Yeah.
I caught something. I caught an orb. It's a spirit. And like, well, all right. Well, if you're gonna get mad at me for telling you, why ask me what I think is my professional opinion? I mean, I've only been doing this 40 years, but what do I know, right? Like, right, Bill?
Yeah.
Bill's the orb master.
I get
Yeah.
I get yelled at nonstop with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, I've done well over 1,000 cases. I don't even know how many, and I've been on 7 confirmed demonic cases. There's more that were possibly there at the beginning infestation, but those were how many I've had, and a lot of times we get things that are mental health, addiction, fear, grief. There's so many different things, and sometimes it can be a mixture. I mean, I worked in a psychiatric facility for 12 years, so I learned a lot about that stuff, and it can be a mixture because they prey on the weak, so
Right,
it's
but you have to have that gift of discernment where you can tell, is this a mental illness possibly, and then you say, obviously we require people to get a full physical and psychological workup before we take on a case, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist,
right.
and I'm not going to diagnose someone, but I've found in my career, in my life, that demonic cases are rare.
Not me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you've been in the clergy, but
Yeah.
the ones I've come across, and I've had quite a few through the years, but they're rare, but I feel that they're becoming more common, because look at the world we live in now. I
Right.
mean, the hatred and animosity out there, and the wars. People are fighting over land, and people are killing each other because they're a specific color, or a specific religious belief, or political belief. Even, it's
Right.
crazy. And the devil and his minions are just laughing their asses off and salivating, because that's what they want.
And
And Bill, you brought up a very good point about psychiatric, because I've run into cases where it's both.
mm,
And there's what you have to do in order to make that person whole is you got to deal with A and B. I can go there, fight the demon, cleanse the person, not exorcism, but deliverance, and then has to tell them, but you need also to go to counseling and get psychiatric help for whatever psychosis
Right.
they have.
Mhm.
And if you don't do one or the other, you're not going to be fully healed. And it's true, the devil would like to hide in a lot of these cases, because we just say, oh, they're psychological.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
they put them into an insane asylum, and really
Oh.
there's spiritual problems too.
Yeah, a lot of our clients are afraid to tell us that they have a mental illness or something like that, because they think we're going to automatically assume, well, there's your problem, and that's not the case. But like one of the things I teach people when we lecture and stuff, and I'm talking about like residential cases, is the people who do learn, from watching TV and running out to the cemetery and stuff. That's all good, but in a person's home, it's different. If you go in and you don't know how to ask those questions and figure out that maybe that person is schizophrenic and they're hearing voices and they're seeing shadows and their things, and you tell them that there's something in the house, and then you cleanse the house, that's not going to fix their illness. So now when you leave, their illness is worse because now they think something's going to kill them, and you just harm them. So that's the dangers that people don't realize.
And that's where so-called clergy who are not educated are our worst enemies, because they don't know that. They don't realize that. They're not trained, to the balance of, like in the Catholic Church, before a real exorcism is done, you have to have a psychological, a medical, and then those two together. And if they can't explain it, then it goes to the bishop and he'll say, yes, okay, there'll be an exorcism. But, you have to be holistic in the approach with evil.
Right, and you
actually
actually have both. I echo those sentiments, because if you have someone that has a form of psychosis or schizophrenia, and you couple that with a history of drug or alcohol addiction, or even a pornography addiction, and I don't say that to be funny. Pornography is an addiction for a lot of people. Any addiction is, in my religious belief, is an abomination against God, the first commandment. Anything that you put above God, money, power, sex, whatever, or you have a history of sexual or physical abuse, those are all what we call doorways. But you can have a demonic issue and a psychological issue. Matter of fact, they prey on those people because they go after the weakest link. And those people already have what we call, or I refer to as, soul wounds. They have a wounded soul already, and they're salivating and they're going after the weakest link.
And Diego, and there are lesser spirits also. And I think you, as a Pentecostal, and I've been in the charismatic movement, so when I was younger, that there are lesser spirits that are not demonic per se, but they come from it. And again, that's with these. It could be a spirit of alcoholism. It could be a spirit of anger. It could be a spirit of pornography and all of that. Those are no less from the evil one, and they can, not only psychologically, but we should be praying for them to be released also. So there are different types of spirits that we're dealing with.
Yes, and sometimes it's unfortunate where people do get the help, but then for some reason opening that portal one more time, and then it's times 7. You're right back where you started, 7-fold. So aside from a medical condition, mental condition, or anything like that, what are the attributes, or what is the, if we were to do a mathematical equation into a location, what are the qualifiers to know as a bona fide demon issue?
Are you talking about possession?
Whether possession, or whether, if it's, let's just say there's a location, somebody says there's an issue here.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily maybe possessed. Eventually, it might happen, but what are the qualifiers where you get there? It's like, oh, it's definitely XYZ.
Well, Jesus said in the Gospels, by your fruits you shall know them. So if you're investigating and it's something that's malevolent, doing malevolent things, if there's a heaviness that you feel, I mean, there's lots of different things that you can
stages.
I was just in a house where things were moved, banging, to disturb the homeowners. And that's not good.
There's different stages of demonic possession. Some say there's 3, 4. I say there's 5. I start with vexation. Vexation is like an annoyance, something that may happen to annoy you once or twice and maybe never happen again. But then when those vexations become more prominent and more regular, now that turns into an infestation. That's where you get the banging noises and the scratching noises, maybe the growling noises, things like that. And then from infestation, that can, not necessarily will, but it can progress into obsession, oppression, which things turn physical. You can't sleep. You have these thoughts in your head that you can't get out of you. Thoughts like suicide or homicide or have an affair with your neighbor's wife, something you'd never think of. But they're not just fleeting thoughts. They're thoughts that consume you. You just can't get them out of your head. And obviously, the final stage would be actual possession. Which I believe is rare, but it's.
But there's one more after that.
Oh, is there? Did I miss it?
It's called demonic subjugation.
That's true.
That's
you.
where, and that's even more
Subjugation.
rare. Although I got to be honest with you, it scares me because demonic subjugation. Once you give yourself over to the devil willingly,
Yeah.
there's nothing
Free will.
There's nothing you can do for them. However, when I see these Facebook pages where they're saying, "Hail Satan, I'm yours. I love Satan," I get scared because is that demonic? Is that opening the door for demonic subjugation? You're giving your will over,
Mhm.
So there is more of it out there. They don't necessarily all come to us because they don't want to, but
Oh.
it's scary. Look at Facebook sometimes and put in satanic. It's
Yeah.
they don't know what they're saying when they say these things.
They know not what they did.
Also, as a demonologist in my studies and in my experiences, when we go in, I'm also an investigator, so I got both sides to it. So when I go in to investigate, we use certain tools and certain things and our own, abilities to help see if something's in there. With a demonic infestation or something in there, in my experience, the only way to truly know is religious provocation. That's the only way you're going to know. If you start throwing holy water and blessing and doing a binding in the room or something, and it's just a spirit, it's not going to react like that. So there's a few telltale signs. I mean, I've had things know my name and nobody knew my name in that room. So there's a lot of different things you look for. Speaking in tongues, speaking in different languages. There's a lot of different
Tremendous
things.
strength.
Yeah.
And that's something that no one should do
No,
unless you
No.
are properly trained, and you need to be in a state of grace too. I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot to know and prep for before you do something like religious provocation. Anybody
Yeah.
can go in and start, with a crucifix and say, "I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to show yourself." Should you do it? No.
No. You
And
got to be
I got to
prepared.
tell you, with Bill, I love what he said. The religious provocation. I was in a house from the 1700s, and they were getting attacked. And so, we had the REM pod, far away, and I brought in a relic, a piece of the true cross, and I held it up. When I held that fragment up, the REM pod went nuts. I mean, it went crazy. And then the battery, it died. The battery fell out of it.
Mhm.
And
And I remember asking you, Padre said he was quite a distance away from it
Yeah.
too, because if you're within, I think, what is it, Bill, 6 feet of that REM pod, your body gives off energy
Yeah.
that could set that
Yeah,
off.
you can.
Well, Father said he was quite a distance away from it.
yeah, and before I even with the REM pod, I always do, I would do like go close
Test
to
it,
it and all
yeah.
that just to be sure that he didn't do it. But that was crazy. It was crazy. And that's when I knew it was a demonic.
And
I had
touching on, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bill.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I had this kid who used to call me. He was actually from my town. He would never give me his real name. He would never tell me anything. He would constantly call. He wanted help, but he was a young kid, and I don't know if his parents wouldn't let him or whatever. But he would call me every once in a while, scared, like in the middle of the night. Nobody's here, and something's coming at me, and I'm trying to come. Well, tell me where you are. Let me help you. He goes, no, wait, here it comes. I'm going to get the cross. I'm going after it. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. That's again, it's the same thing I tell teams. If they go in the house, like you're saying, and start throwing holy water around, and there's something really there that's demonic, it's going to come out, and they're not going to have any clue what to do.
That's when you stop and call people that know.
Yes.
That's key. And I'm going to say, I went to I'm going to share this, but I went with my team, my partner, and my case manager in Massachusetts, and we went to this case. Now, my friend's wife always has iced tea, so she's drinking it, and then all of a sudden she went, "This thing smells like urine."
Oh
So it
gosh.
does. Yeah, so I'm going, yeah, right. So the
Uh-huh.
husband grabs it and smells it, and he goes, "Oh, geez, it does." I said, "Come on." I grab it. It smells like urine. So we're saying, what are we going into?
Mm-hmm.
We come in. The young woman is on the bed in a pool of urine.
Hmm.
I tried for 2 hours to do deliverance. And then I saw the superhuman strength. I saw the speaking away. I went, whoa, this is over my pay grade. I have to stop right now because I need the blessing and the sanctuary. So I called the local bishop who I knew, and he took it from there. I said, "You have an exorcist?" And he said, "Yes." But yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary. I mean, you're dealing with powers that you can't possibly comprehend. And for the groups out there that, I know there's a lot of macho people out there that say, "I'm not afraid." Well, if you're faced with true demonic, you're going to be afraid.
Yeah.
Trust me. I'm
Yep.
afraid. You're not human if you're not afraid.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah.
human beings. I don't have a big S on my chest and a red cape on my back. At the end of the day, we are human beings. However, um, Jesus gave us the power, all of us, to cast out demons in his name. It's not I, Joe Franke, cast you out.
No.
It's
Right.
you cast you out in the name of Jesus Christ and the blood of Christ. Go to the foot of the cross and accept your fate.
And
And
and the thing is, I wouldn't want to do an exorcism. Uh, no exorcist I know that's been asked they're asked by the diocese. They were not like, "I want to do an exorcism." No, you don't.
Right.
You're crazy. You're crazy. It's dangerous. You could die. The
Well,
client could die. It's serious crap. So, uh,
that's what I say too. I say people when I'm called in for a case to help assess, I don't look forward to it. I do it because I'm there to help
you know,
people. All 7 cases that I was part of will haunt me forever. There's
yes,
nothing in there that you can laugh at. It stuff that will haunt me forever. So it's not something I look forward to. I'm happy when we go in and it's nothing.
It's not cool.
right.
No,
We don't look at
no,
it as cool.
no,
We're
definitely not.
looking at the person the afflicted person that needs our help, and we'll do everything in our power to help them.
Yeah,
And Bill, and what you also are experiencing, and exorcists will attest to it. Those who are really dealing with the demonic,
mm,
a piece of them dies every time they have to encounter the demonic,
right.
and an exorcist will say that, and I believe that's what you're feeling too. Like a part of you, you
Yeah,
know, is dying because you've touched evil.
Mm-hmm.
You've touched pure evil,
I
and
mean,
you're never the same.
it's a good
yeah,
point. I mean, I will admit, at my age, I have some health issues, and I've even discussed these with my doctors, my oncologist, my cardiologist, my primary doctor. I said, I believe in my heart that some of my ailments are due to the work that I've been doing, but it's not something that can really be proven, I guess. But
right.
it takes a piece of you, and I got to be careful. Like I said, we all have to be careful. Bill,
Yeah,
you've got some issues. I mean, we all
yeah,
do. I mean, it's part of the getting
yeah.
older, but
Yeah,
you need to be smart enough that if I'm too weak to work on a case, I'll stay away because as Father just said, you could die. It
yeah.
could kill you. Maybe not
Yeah.
directly, but indirectly. You could have a heart attack or whatever.
I
It
I
could
tell
affect you.
Yeah, I tell people on my own team, if you're sick or you're having some kind of issues at home with your family, with your kids, whatever, you're not allowed on a case until that's all
amen,
solved.
amen.
Because if you go in with those stress and anxiety on you, you're opening it to cause more problems. So we won't let them go on a case.
Yes, yes.
And touching on going along with this conversation, very curious to ask you this because we talked about earlier. I asked about the qualifiers for or evidence of what if there were a demon at a location or somebody being possessed, different stages. I think there were 5 or 6 we talked about.
Yeah.
Similar with extraterrestrials, when you have encounters of the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth being the actual abduction. Where does that fall in the line? Talk about in the spirit world. Are extraterrestrials just negative spirits or demons camouflaging themselves or pretending to be extraterrestrials in order to lead people astray? Or
I don't think that there's a conclusive answer to that. As a Roman Catholic priest, the church hasn't ruled out that there is some kind of life beyond ours. There's no teaching. Even Jesus really never said anything like that. However, I do think in some cases, and I've heard it from exorcists, that some extraterrestrials are really demonic spirits.
They're the great deceivers. They lie, and they lie all the time.
I know a lot of people that believe, even like when we're doing communication, like we're doing EVPs, that's not spirits. A lot of them believe that that's extraterrestrials, communicating through the equipment. Can't prove it either way,
Yeah, and sometimes it's true, and some people would even say, like I just got back from Fatima, Portugal, where Our Lady appeared to the 3 shepherd children in 1917. Some people believe that was an alien, coming from another planet, and it's like, no,
it's where that's where your faith comes in.
Yeah.
Now, I always like when I lecture, I always coin the phrase from the original Miracle on 34th Street, the movie, which I love. But faith is believing in something that common sense tells you not to.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have faith in something. I mean, just because it's not tangible, you can't see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But that's what faith is all about. And you got to have faith, because faith is a powerful weapon. People ask me, it's when I do appearances, sometimes I have some religious items that we sell, holy water, maybe a St. Michael or a Blessed Mother or a St. Benedict medal or a rosary or a bracelet. And people like to purchase them. And I said, well, this is nothing but an inanimate object, and it's not going to help you unless you have the faith in what this symbolizes. Holy water is nothing but regular water, and if you have the faith and believe that this has been blessed, so it's the faith behind these objects that really give it the power.
Yeah.
Not just, you can just get out of bed and Jesus, start throwing holy water around. But if you don't really believe in this, it's not going to work.
It becomes superstition.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Them.
Yeah. If I was going to say, if you had a demon in the house for real, and you didn't believe in Jesus, and you just start putting crosses all over the walls, it's not going to do a thing.
No,
not at all, because I believe, and forgive me, I'm terrible at memorizing scripture, but there was a part where I believe it might just be I'm going to say old wives' tale. I don't want to be disrespectful, but along the lines of somebody was trying to banish a spirit or a demon, and they said, well, in Jesus' name, but we know Jesus. I don't know who you are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think things got a little bit worse for that person.
Talking about that, didn't we?
Yeah. And I just lost what I was going to say. Sorry. Senior moment.
And Padre, jump in and correct me if I get this wrong, but there's a story about St. John Vianney that I love. And St. John Vianney was laying on his side in bed, and he hears this commotion behind him, and he kind of rolls over and looks over, and he sees the devil there. And he goes, "Oh, it's just you." And he kind of waves him off, and he rolls over and tries to go back to sleep. And the devil's like, "Aren't you afraid of me?" And St. John Vianney looks at him and he goes, "I'm a baptized Christian. You're afraid of me."
That's the faith that you need.
That's the faith.
Yeah.
Did I get that story right?
Yes.
I love that story.
And I love John V. The place where I live, my residence is named after John V. And he's a patron saint of parish priest. But there's a movie, I mean, obviously it's fictional, but Salem's Lot.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite movies, because there's such truth there. They're around the kitchen table. Have you guys seen Salem's Lot?
Not in many years.
Long time ago. Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, okay. They're sitting around the table with a priest. And then the guy, that thing comes in, scared the crap out of me, Mr. Barlow. And so the priest takes out a cross and he's holding it. And so they're saying, get away, holy man. Put that cross down. I want your faith against the master's faith. Can you beat him? Your faith against the master's faith. So the priest goes, but I'm a priest. And then Mr. Barlow grabs the cross and bends it. You know, but that is such a powerful thing that if you don't have the faith, these things aren't gonna help. What empowers them is your faith, your prayer life, you know, and all of that. People wear rosary beads that don't even know what it is. I said, rosary beads aren't going to help you. They're powerful for me because I pray it every day. So it's the prayer behind it, you know. But anyways.
And I know that we just talked about this a little bit earlier as well, with talking about the rising new people in the field with the paranormal, and they're investigating. Even those who are skeptical, I think they go to these locations. They may want to believe, but they're there just to make sure. I guess it's just really there to ridicule the people, tell you the truth. But what is the one piece of advice or one key takeaway that you would want them to remember when approaching the paranormal? What are the responsibilities, and what is also the responsibility of them being respectful?
Well, I'm going to say this first on the equipment side of things. And I'm going to go off of what I know they're going to say. So on the equipment side of things, I'm telling you as a tech also, as opposed to just an investigator, if you're going to take a piece of equipment out, learn what it does. Don't just turn it on, and if it beeps, you think you have something. Learn what it does. Learn what could set it off naturally. Learn how to test it, and learn how to do real research. Like,
learn how to debunk it.
Debunk it. Figure it out, because any piece of equipment is going to go off at some point. Learn what it is in order to know if you really could have something or not. That's one of the biggest things.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all in education. It gets back to what Joe said, education. It's like using, you know, the tech, using the religious thing, using, you know, the right words and how to address, you know, and compassion if it is a lost soul, you know, and all of those are all together, you know, all together. It's education. And I think groups should sit down and learn from someone that's been in the field for years how to do a good investigation. But you know what? I've talked to other seasoned people, the paranormal, you know, who are well known. They say, like, people today, they look at us like we're Neanderthals, and it's like, oh, you're old, passe. They're like, we have nothing to offer, and that's sad.
And Father hit the nail on the head. When people ask me that question, Diego, about what is the best advice you can give someone, is educate yourself, learn how to educate the people you're trying to help, but also protect yourself and learn how to protect yourself properly. But make sure you're of faith. Whatever your faith may be, whatever your religious beliefs are. You know, I've met these debunkers out there, and some of them are really nice people. But there's one particular debunker, I won't mention any names, of course, but like, well, I don't believe in ghosts and I don't believe in demons. I'm like, well, then how can you debunk anything? You need to have an open mind. That's what I tell people. At least have an open mind that this does exist. But if you say you don't believe in ghosts or you don't believe in demons, well, then there's nothing to debunk, is there? If you don't believe, you know, if you don't believe, you know, I believe because I've lived it. For 40 years, I've been involved. I've laughed with people. I've cried with people. And a lot of the people I've helped had nothing to do with the paranormal. Might have found squirrels in the attic. Say, well, there's your noises. There's your scratching noises. I had one lady say, I'm so sorry, Joe. I said, what are you sorry for? She's like, I wasted your time. I said, do you feel better? She goes, I am so relieved. I said, then I've done my job.
Right.
I said, don't ever apologize, because you honestly came to us and thought you had a problem. That's why we're here. And look, we're not the only ones out there. There are a lot of seasoned people out there. Many of them probably know more than I do. This is a learning experience. I don't know everything. I don't profess to know everything. But
Right.
that's why I have my colleagues here. What I know, to collectively, we are a force to be reckoned with, because we're educated and we have faith.
I-
And not a lot of people can say that, and it's sad. And they look at us like like I said, we're dinosaurs.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, sometimes oldies are goodies.
Well,
100% right.
there's one guy. I would love to say his name, but I won't.
Don't do it.
He's on another team. He's one of the only people that bothers me. He called me a prehistoric investigator because
Hey,
wait. He
Oh.
called me a prehistoric investigator because I told him his phone apps are ridiculous, that they're programmed
They
and
are.
they don't work. And
They
he
are.
told me I know nothing about technology when I have 33 years as an IT director. So it's just, there's stupidity. But he just wanted confirmation because he has a YouTube channel, and his whole YouTube channel is him walking through places with phone apps going off every 5 seconds. I can tell you, as a person who worked with companies that design apps, they're programmed to do that. Programmed.
I always say we
You know?
mock what we don't understand. That's what
Yeah.
people do.
Yeah. I laugh at him.
Well, you
Doesn't bother
should.
me.
I'm
Yeah.
right there with you, brother.
Doesn't
These
bother
phone
me.
apps are ridiculous. I have a couple on my phone just for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
But,
I've
I mean-
tried them all. I've tested them. I go out and I research them with real equipment and stuff and see. But I laugh at the guy. It doesn't bother me what they say. It doesn't affect me. I laugh.
I'm sorry, because when you look at it, spirits and demons don't need apps to get a hold of you.
no.
They'll reach out somehow. So
Right.
doesn't matter
if
what you have.
there's intelligence there, they don't need toys.
Right.
That's right. And
They
now
don't need
for
toys.
And
For
let
the-
me just
But
touch one thing on that.
sometimes the legitimate one does help us because
Yeah, helps
we
us.
don't have it all together. So
Right.
like Bill said, rely on good tech things, and there are good stuff out there.
Right.
I just can't afford them.
Right.
And most people can. But one thing real quick I'll say about the apps. We say the paranormal is the unexplained. If you can explain it by natural science, it's not paranormal. And the thing is, with an app, there's too many things to explain it. Could something come through one of them? It's possible, but there's way too many things. A lot of them use they use GPS to know where you are. They use active listening to hear what you're saying. They use AI to respond to you. So the point is, it's too many things factored into that we can disprove that. So it's not. I mean, if you want to have fun and go out in the cemetery and use it, enjoy yourself, but it's there's no way it's considered real evidence, in my opinion.
Right. Well, I mean, the very definition of the word paranormal is that which is beyond scientific explanation.
Right.
But many of you, and Billy hit the nail on the head. I mean, people don't. They, like I said earlier, they want it to be paranormal, so they're not looking to debunk it.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
like, well, did you check this? No. I know it's something. I know there's a demon here. I'm like, why are you celebrating that? I said,
Yeah.
believe me, if you were attacked by a demon, you would, first of all, you would know it. You'd probably crap your pants, and you'd never get back into this work again.
Yeah.
But people think it's cool. Oh, I got scratched by a demon, or I got punched by a demon. I'm like, oh God.
I tell
Please.
people, a lot of people ask me sometimes, like, well, what's real on the TikTok and all this? I said, look, there's a very simple way to understand TikTok. When you see these videos, and there's one specific guy, I forget his name, but he constantly does videos all day long, and he'll be holding his phone like this, and he'll be like, okay, look at the door, and the door is opening and closing, and he's like, go away, go away. I said, fake. Because if that door was opening and closing like that, he'd be running his ass so far out of that house. I said, so all these people that are filming this stuff and stuff flying around the room, 100% fake. 100%.
I wish I would kill to see that in real life. I have never, because I'm a priest, and that's not fair. But when I go into the demons will not do any of that because they know I'm a priest, and they're not going to give themselves away. So I've never seen any of that.
Right.
I've seen a few.
They actually hide. They don't
Yeah,
want
they
to be
go do it.
discovered. They don't want to be discovered because they know that you are there to try to eradicate them
I
and
would
get rid
kill
of
to
them.
see a full body.
I mean, there's a person I just
Yeah.
got to get this out. There are people, and one person in particular that I'm not going to name, but actually told me that she communicates with demons, and she talks with Beelzebub, and they have an understanding, and that she can hold demons back. And I'm like, oh my god, you're seeing a whole team of psychiatrists, aren't you? You know, it's like communicate with demons. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Hmm.
And the theology was bad. They said that don't bother us. We're here waiting judgment.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no. You're out there and active.
Yeah.
Beelzebub, Baal, they're all out there active. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
We
All
encounter
these
a lot.
people want they want to be famous, they want to be on TV, they want to make money. That's not what we're about. You know, I couldn't care about, I've turned down TV shows. I don't care about being on TV. I got a face for radio.
Yeah. Well, some of us have, and I'm
Have you
proud
seen
that I
this? Look at
was.
this.
Oh, no, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that's
Well,
not our goal.
No.
right.
Our
I've been on.
our goal is not to have a television show.
Right.
Our goal is to
Well,
help people that need it.
I always say two things. There's paranormal and there's paranormal entertainment. I've been on a few of the shows. You know, I'm more on the documentary side and expertise in what I know and things like that. But I watch all the shows. I enjoy them. It's two different things. You know, you have to take TV
Some of
and
them are very
movies.
well done.
Yeah, they
Some
are.
very
So
well
yeah,
done.
and you know, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
State.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I watched it all the time.
Well, and Bill, the problem with it sets up a false narrative in that you're doing, like when I was on Paranormal State, Ryan and them, they were dealing with cases sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks. They would leave, come back, but then they got to put all that together
In 1 hour.
in 50 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and then it gets resolved. Although in Paranormal State, not always everything got
No.
resolved.
Right.
But it's a false thing. So people, when they call us, they expect it too sweet that we're going to do it.
Right.
But it's like, I may have to come back again.
And
Right.
we may not be able to help you.
Right.
I mean, we can't make any guarantees.
No.
What-
And I have one particular house I've been working on for 4 years or more than 4 years. And every now and then the activity comes back. And it's like, I'm frustrated about it.
Well,
And
Sometimes-
because they invited back, or
No.
they don't do the work.
Sometimes.
No, sometimes but no, not with them. I think their house, which is from like the 1600s, that land is just, it's almost like a spirit waste, you know.
like a portal.
Well, yeah, and it's just a meeting ground.
Yeah.
and I think every time it's a different spirit, so I try to cross them over. Only once, and that was the house that went crazy with the relic of the cross. Yeah, there was demonic there, and but there's a lot of regular spirits. So I don't know. Maybe they want me there. They know I'll come.
One
to
of the
help
big
them cross
shows,
over.
I won't say the name. One of the big shows I know takes 26 days to film an episode. That, you know, so if you take that hour-long episode and you cut out all the commercials and then you cut out all the interviews and you cut out all the talking,
Yeah.
how much footage is there from 26 days?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta understand that. That's, you know, and the producers do what they want. So
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
It's the
and at
long
the end
haul.
of the day, when you're doing a show, I mean, you have to produce a show that is appetizing to your viewers to get yourself another season, another
Of course.
episode, and you got to make money. At the end of the day, it's all about money. All these movies for theater and TV. I mean, look at the cases we discussed. Some of the more famous, iconic cases, like Amityville and Annabelle, the Annabelle cases, and Annalise Michelle. I mean, you know, they make these movies, and the movies, albeit they suck. Yeah, I mean they might.
They're entertaining, but they're not.
Yeah, they're entertaining, but I mean, like for example, The Exorcist, which for 1973, that movie
That was
is
a good movie.
unbelievably made.
beast.
We didn't have CGI then. You didn't have green
Yeah.
screens, and you know, but what the part with the head spinning around like that didn't happen. That's Hollywood, because it would have killed that young boy. because it was a young boy that happened to.
It was a young boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have killed him. But you know, the scene at the end where Father Karras jumps out the window and goes down the Exorcist steps, now made famous by the movie, never happened. It could happen.
Oh yeah, no,
but it
not
didn't
the
happen.
real story.
That was
It's
Hollywood.
loosely based.
Yeah, right. Now, that's why I say, you know, my current lecture tour is about based on a true story, you know, fact versus fiction, you know, Hollywood's take on real paranormal cases. And some of them are well done and they're entertaining and they're scary.
I'm going to tell you one of the
Yeah,
best
true.
ones to watch is The Right.
The Right,
with
Father
Matt,
Gary Thomas. Yep.
with Matt Baglio.
Yep.
And
And the reason being, truth is scarier than fiction. I mean, the thing about them spitting out nails and that happens.
It really happened.
And exorcism and all of these things. Why they have to make up things is frustrating, because
Yeah.
in real demonic cases, sometimes what they manifest is scarier. You know.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Yeah,
brought that up, Father, because the movie The Right came out in 2012, and it's based on the life of Father Gary Thomas, who's based out of San Francisco area. And Father helped me on a couple of cases some years ago on the phone. I never met him in person, but I remember asking him a question. I said, Father, do you mind if I ask you a question? He said, no, go ahead. I said, the case where the young girl, teenage girl, I believe it was, being exercised, where she spit out those nails. I said, those nails, and he stopped me and he goes, Joe, he goes, I still have the nails.
Yep.
He still was
Oh.
in possession of those nails that materialized out of nothing. And from what I understand, a lot of research I've done, I watch a lot of documentaries and interviews and lectures by these exorcists. They said that, you know, they'll vomit up things like worms and snails and things like that. And he said, but if you had taken an x-ray of that person's stomach right before the exorcism, you wouldn't find nails or snails or worms in their stomach. They materialize.
Right.
And that's demonic. That's
It's the same thing with levitation.
levitation. Yeah.
You know, and that has happened. You know, priests have seen that.
And it's meant to scare you. And of course, for any normal person,
Of course it would.
It would.
Yeah.
besides
You
The Right, watch the TV show Evil.
Oh, I
Evil
love
is
that.
fantastic.
I haven't watched it. I gotta watch it.
Unfortunately, they canned it.
It's horrible. I was so mad. Yeah, it's like 5 seasons they did.
How many seasons?
Yeah.
I gotta watch
it was
that. I gotta binge
more
watch
real
that.
than anything I've seen.
Yeah, it was good. They did, whoever it was did their homework. They really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, there's
Had it
another
have a
good movie
priest.
because people ask me about that. There's a movie called Nefarious.
Oh,
a
that's
few years ago.
yeah. That's
Forgive me,
Yeah,
Bill, if I
yeah.
stepped on you there.
No, no.
Nefarious was a very good movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of it's fiction, but based on these
Events.
are the devil's tactics.
hmm
And so we've had some good ones. We've had some stinky ones, but
Yeah, we're not knocking all of them, but
no, but
Yeah.
the right, the
but even
Exorcist
The Exorcist,
is pretty good. Yeah.
because that was the first time, and I've talked to my sister's generation. She's 9 years older than me. For when that first came out, it was a watershed. No one had ever thought about it because the church was silent in exorcism. And it scared the crap out of people. People were puking, people were running out, people were calling
Nightmares.
their priests thinking they were possessed. It had a profound effect,
Yeah.
because it had never been. It was taboo for so long, So
Well, look at it. It's the test of time. It's 52 years ago, right?
Yep.
50.
Wow.
It's
And,
still one of my favorite movies.
You gave me an idea, Joe.
It's,
I'm gonna lighten it up because some of this stuff starts real scary and might be disturbing for some. Give me an idea for a TV show.
what?
I'm gonna throw it out there and don't hang up the phone because we still got more show to go. You remember that old TV show called Touched by an
Yeah,
Angel?
I love that.
I think we're ready for one called Punched by a Demon.
Ah,
Well, me and Joe both have.
Oh, I was thrown across the room by an
Me
unseen
too.
force. I was 24 years old and I was about 350 pounds and man, and people are like, weren't you scared? I was terrified. But then I got up, I was pissed off.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. You know, people
No,
are like,
no,
oh,
definitely
I
not.
had one guy say to me, oh, that's pretty cool. I'd like that to happen to me. I'd like to experience that. And I said, what are you, nuts?
Yeah. No,
Oh,
you wouldn't.
no, you wouldn't want
When
that.
when you get hit or knocked, like Joe, I got hit in the chest and knocked clear across the room, and there's nothing there that hits you. That
Yeah.
can be the most frightening thing you'll ever experience, because how do you defend yourself? How do you fight? You know what I mean? Like, you
It's not
just,
tangible.
yeah,
You
it's,
can't.
you don't know what
Only your
happened. You
faith.
don't.
Your
Yeah.
faith, exactly. Your faith.
Only your faith.
Well, yeah, of course.
But I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, this is the real stuff that they don't see.
Yeah.
People don't see, and they think it's glamorous until that happens. And it's.
And it's too late.
I just got done recently in Harrisville, Rhode Island, doing deliverance on a house, and I was going through the rooms with the holy water. I went into one of the son's rooms, and I literally got pushed out of the room. It was like, what? And they saw me. And it's like, what happened? I got pushed out. You know, it's startling.
Yeah.
Now,
It's not for
for
the faint of heart, that's for sure.
no, not at all. This is you got to be trained right. Not only
Yeah.
that, but you got to really know what you're doing, which poses the question, and we're going to go out on this one for the listeners of Let's Find Out that would like to learn more about what you all do, and if they need help or have a friend that needs help, and they also want to know where you're going to be at for the rest of 2025, what events, where can they go find out?
Well, the first thing for all of us is the warrensociety.com. They'll be able to find everything they need about us as far as getting help and everything with the society there. And some of our own stuff is separate. I'll go real quick. So I have probably the first week of September is the launch of my first book. And it's going to be my 36 years in the field. It's an autobiography. I have that coming out, and I'm going to be at UltraCon in West Palm Beach from September 19th to the 21st. And I think Horror Fest in Fort Myers on the 28th of September, I think it is. After that, I don't have all the other dates yet.
Yeah, we have something coming up in August, 16th or whatever.
16th and 17th, I think.
It's called the Nautical Nightmares. It's the USS Hornet in California. So my other cohort priest friend, Father Ken, he's attempting to do his first Paracon. So we're going down for that. So I'm sure that's going to get covered in our talks.
Yeah. I myself, I do a lot of lecturing locally. But coming up in travel, I have the California trip with Father Bob here. I will be in Maine the 6th and 7th at the Maine Paracon. It's the first ever Maine
Yeah.
Paracon. I'm supposed to be there, and Father Bob will be there as well. And then I've got in later after that in September, I will be at the Black Swan in San Antonio, Texas. I believe that's a one-day event. It's Saturday, September 20th. So that'll be at the Victoria's Black Swan there. I've got a lot of local events that I do in Connecticut. I've got an event coming up on the 12th and 13th of September at the state park, Chatfield Hollow State Park. I'll be giving some talks, and I talk about various topics. My history in the paranormal. Bill's got his book coming out. I've got my outline done. I've been trying to write my book for 10 years, but keep tripping over myself and can't get out of my own way, it seems. So a lot of other things are coming up that will be planned for the fall, obviously spooky season, but we do this stuff year round.
Yeah.
You know, we talk at colleges and universities. They do private events, do a lot of public libraries, especially here in Connecticut where I'm based. I do a lot of public library events.
Yeah, I do a lot in
And,
Florida.
yeah, Bill lives in Florida. Father Bob's in Rhode Island, so he's close to me. But Bill and Father Bob and I are planning on trying to do a lot of events together, also along with Father Ken, who lives
Yeah.
out in California. So we're kind of all over the globe, Diego. And we've got people as part of our foundation, our society, I should say. Excuse me.
Yeah.
All over the country and in the world, really. If
Yeah.
anybody needs help anywhere in the world, reach out. Go to warrensociety.com. There's a get help button, I guess. Bill is the master of the website. He can talk more intelligently about it than I can, but you should be able to find everything you need on the website.
Yeah.
Or at least if you can't, you can always hit that help button and get a hold of us.
Right. And my personal stuff, if you wanted to see when the book's released or any of my stuff, I have my own website too. It's just billslevin.com. So everything's on there always.
Yep. And I have one, joefranke.com, but Bill's helping me with it. So it's under construction.
With Father Ken, I was the founder of what we call the Holy Sword Apostolate. And that we have a website, and again, for education, the same thing, educate, to offer advice, offer prayers, and all of that to help. And and we're available to help also. I'll be in, besides being in Maine, I'll also be in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, and Illinois in October.
Yeah, October's the busiest month.
September.
October are like our busiest months because once November hits, people turn their sights towards the holidays.
Yes.
And then it kind of goes downhill. But and look, we would help anybody. It doesn't have to. It could be a family. It could be a business owner. It could be another group. If you're out there as part of a group and you have a case and you think you're in it over your head and you need some advice from old guys. They call us the paranormal OGs, because we existed during the analog days. Kids today probably don't even know what that word means.
Yeah, I was there too. It's all right.
Yeah, what's that? Yep. Well, what's Polaroid? Well, Polaroid's making a comeback, I guess. But we used to use Polaroid cameras and 35 millimeter. I don't even know if they still make film, I guess, but. I don't know. I'm dating myself now, but now with digital and all these apps and everything. Yeah, I mean, look at Disney. They make movies on a computer. All you need is the voiceovers, I guess. But I mean, you can fake a lot of stuff out there. Bill obviously knows that. He's the IT expert.
Yeah.
Things can be faked, but some of the evidence that I've got in my arsenal is from the 70s, and that was long before digital and CGI and digital cameras and all these apps and things where you could just fake stuff. And why would you want to do that? Why do you want to fake stuff? I mean, you get caught faking one thing, all your credibility goes out the window. There goes your the only thing I've always said, my dad used to teach me, he goes, I gotta wake up every morning, look in the mirror, and I gotta like what I see. He said, all you have is your name and your integrity, and neither one of them are for sale. Okay, once you get caught faking one thing, that's it. Your integrity is gone, and you'll never get it back. Never get it back, at least 100% anyway. So, just be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself, and be honest with everyone. And look, if you're in over your head, put your macho stuff aside, your pride aside. Say, I need help. There are people out there that can help you.
It's not a competition.
It's not.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, right?
That's right. And if anybody needs help, they know who to contact. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us, Diego.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Copyright Diego the Podcaster. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out with Diego is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.